So let's start with Philadelphia. It is a mess. When Doc Rivers said, he was asked, can you be a contending team with this point guard? I thought his answer was totally honest. I'm still supporting him, but we got work to do. A lot of people take that as he's bailing on Ben Simmons, and my argument would be we got to stop babying Ben Simmons. We have to confront this. He's got to get better. Giannis is working on his free throws. It ain't pretty, but he hits just enough. Do we have to keep coddling and babysitting Ben Simmons and worrying about how it lands when we talk, or we have to confront this? Guy's not working on his game, Chris.
Publicly, yes. Publicly, Doc, I agree. Doc was telling the truth. But Doc publicly should have probably been like, look, Ben, just like he's been saying, Ben is great defensively. Ben is a phenomenal passer. Ben can score on the drive when he's aggressive. Ben can do so much that we need. We'll work on the jump shooting, but I believe in him. Yes, we can win the title with him. Now, behind the scenes, they may be trying like the Dickens to trade him, and they should be. But publicly, that's what you say. Because, look, we are dealing with young men. We are dealing with social media, and they are sensitive. We know it. Now, behind the scenes, and this is where I do give some fault to Doc. During this whole season, he should have been working on Ben Simmons to not only work on his jumper in practice, but actually shoot them during the game. Publicly, you can be supportive, say all this and that. But privately, he should be tough on Ben. He should be letting him know, look, sit down with him. Look, I've coached Hall of Famers, and you could be one. But you are not going to sniff the Hall of Fame. We're not going to sniff a championship if you can't get better at jump shooting. And, Ben, we may have to move on from you if you can't. Like, you can be hard with him privately, but I think publicly you do have to do a little coddling, unfortunately.
By the way, Simmons, I was saying this, there are places he could fit if you put him at Golden State and just said, we're going to make you like a Draymond. You're not a point guard. Put two great shooters. I think Golden State, and Golden State, by the way, if you trade for him, he's not going to be a savior. Fans just want him to be able to defend. I think Golden State works for him.
Look, I've been saying he's a Draymond Green. Because Draymond, not that Draymond's a point guard, but he's a good playmaker himself. And obviously they're both great defenders. Look, if they could trade, if Philadelphia could get Draymond for Ben Simmons, then the Golden State, I think, would do that in a heartbeat. I would do that in a heartbeat. I wouldn't do it if I'm Philly, because I need a point guard back. But I agree with you there, though. Here's the one difference. Draymond would at least take the three-point shot. They lay off of him. They give him 10, 15 feet. But he will shoot the shot, and he'll hit a few of them. And so Ben's got to get to the point where he will at least do that. But to your point, Colin, there are teams that could build around him. I think I said on here last week, Houston should have traded for him.
Yeah.
I know you didn't want to strengthen Daryl Morey, but it would have helped them. You can build around him like they built around Giannis in Milwaukee. Put 4 shooters around him. Let Ben push the ball in transition, drive in the half court and score in the paint, and post up in the half court, and he can pass out of double teams and all of that. So that's how you build around him. You just can't do that when you have a big-time low-post scorer like Joel Embiid, because one of them gets forced out to the perimeter, and it's usually Embiid, so they can put Ben by the basket, because if they don't, nobody will guard him. So you can build around him. You just got to find the right place.
You know, it's interesting with the Nets. I thought actually for Kevin Durant, it's about as good as it could have been for Durant. He has established himself as an unbelievable talent. He played every minute. He came off, as you talked about last week, a rough surgery and is one of the best players ever off that surgery, probably the best performance ever off that surgery in the first year. So even though Brooklyn lost, I feel like in a way Kevin Durant kind of strengthened his image a little bit. I guess that's the positive spin to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be critical of him. With the performances were fantastic. You knew guys were falling by the wayside left and right due to injury around him, and he still performed. So I do think he helped his image a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, there are those trying to, they're comparing him to LeBron. LeBron could have done that. He's done it before in the East, carried that team. But outside of that, I do think it helped him. Let me say this, Colin. You know I picked Brooklyn, and I wanted them to win because I picked them. We always want our picks to be right. But it's actually good that they didn't win it for the NBA.
Yeah.
And I may have said it on here before. It would have been complete AAU had they won the championship.
Yeah.
It would have been taking the best kid from LA, the best kid from Maryland, best kid from New Jersey, throw them together for a weekend. They don't know each other. They haven't played together before, and they beat all the best teams in the country. You know, like that's what we would have had in the NBA. Usually you have to suffer pain, adversity before you win a title.
Yep.
Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett, we could go on and on. This is good for the Nets. If they're really, and I mean, two of them have already won championships, but this will make them better next year. They should learn from this pain and come back and take here's a novel idea. Take the regular season seriously. All right? Don't take so many days off, and then they can come back and win the championship next year.
Yeah, no, Chris, this is something I talked about 2 months ago, and people made fun of me. I said, is it privately Adam Silver was rooting against the Clippers last year because it was load management, and it was like, oh, this is horrible.
Right.
And their chemistry suffered. Similarly this year, I think it's a great point is that, well, I think it's a great point because I agree with it. But in the end, the league wants there to be a draft and development. You just can't buy your way to a championship. And to your point, I think we saw that. Now, I love the Phoenix Suns. I was saying this, is that everybody likes positionless basketball and everybody's got to shoot a three. But I like Phoenix because they're old school. I got an old school point guard. I got a true scoring guard. I've got two wings, an old guy, a young guy. I got a big who likes to be a big. They didn't do load management. Yeah. They built through the draft. Part of me looks at Phoenix, Chris, and I'm like, I miss what Phoenix is. Everybody's got a defined role. Everybody's got a position. I mean, they even have a classic backup, limited backup point, so Chris Paul only has to play 31 minutes, not 47. Like, I find myself rooting for Phoenix because they're a little old school. I mean, that's how I view them, and I kind of miss old school hoops.
No, I hear you. I hear you in that, okay, first of all, your two guards, Devin Booker and Chris Paul, and you know you have a lot of young basketball players and parents who have basketball players, kids playing coming up that listen to your show. So I want to say this to them. Do not abandon the mid-range. Okay?
Right.
Analytics says go all the way to the basket or shoot the three. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Kawhi Leonard. All of them are mid-range assassins. All right, yes, you have to be able to shoot the three, but they are proof positive that the mid-range can still be very effective. So there's that. And then I love DeAndre Ayton. I think DeAndre Ayton it is in a lot of ways, yeah, you'd rather have a Joel Embiid who could just go down there and dominate. But for teams that have scores elsewhere, he's kind of a prototypical new school center.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's not shooting the three and all that, but he's athletic and long enough to guard on the perimeter. Like the Clippers won't be able to exploit him on the perimeter the way they did Rudy Gobert.
That's right.
Because he can get out there a little better. He's a little more athletic. And yet he can rebound. He can block shots. He can finish around the basket. But he doesn't just plop down on the post and say, give me the ball. So, look, this team is I think they'll bring Chris back. You know, he deserves now a new contract. But even if for some chance they didn't, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They are here to stay. They got a chance to win it this year, but they're going to be here for many years to come.
You know, and before we go, I look at the Clippers situation, and, you know, they got behind Dallas. They got behind Utah. They're now behind Phoenix. They're an interesting team, Chris. Historically, if you lose game one, 70% of the time you lose the series. But I will say they have kind of a they're an interesting team. They got a lot of players. They got a lot of wings. They're the opposite of Phoenix. They got their guard play. They don't know what they're getting. They got a big that can't move out too much, but their wings are great. I think it's going to be a contrast of styles. I'm not sure Phoenix is going to win. I find myself, I like their style, but I kind of I don't know. I look at this Clippers-Suns series, Chris, and I look at the Clippers. Listen, Kawhi comes back or not, this feels like a 7-game series to me. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I think it's going to be a tug-of-war for 12 days.
Yeah, look, it's downright foolishness at this point to count the Clippers out under any circumstances, right? I mean, Paul George could go down and you just can't write him off. I mean, this team has shown heart and resiliency. I don't think Kawhi will be back. We'll see. I don't expect to see him. I picked Phoenix in 7, so I'm with you. I think it's a tough series. I wouldn't be surprised in the least bit if the Clippers do win this this series. But yeah, both teams are very evenly matched. The thing is, I mentioned Ayton, they won't be able to exploit him. Phoenix is a little more athletic too than Dallas and Utah were.
Yes.
So Utah, you really had to worry about Donovan Mitchell's athleticism, Jordan Clarkson when he's in the game. Outside of that, they weren't really that athletic. That's not the case with Phoenix. And here's the thing, too, with the Clippers. Ty Lue, he's obviously been getting his flowers. Everybody's been praising him. But you mentioned they've done things no other team has ever done, which is come back from 2-0-2 series to win in the same postseason. Some of that, I think, is that Ty Lue is doing something that hardly any coaches have ever done. And that is he is utilizing just about his entire roster.
Yeah.
So he's looking at if I got 12 guys that can play, maybe I'll use them like one series. Oh, you're not built for this series. I know you're my 6th man, but you're not built for this series. I'm going to the 10th man and he's going to play. Or the 9th man is starting this game because it's what the situation calls for. Most coaches stick with their 8 or 9 man rotation no matter what.
Yep.
He's changing starting lineups. Rondo doesn't play for several games. Then he's playing a lot. He really is he's saying all 12 of these guys can play. So if the situation calls for it, I'm going to use this guy even though he wasn't in the rotation last season.
Right.
So I think that's been effective. And more coaches might need to look at it. It's common sense, right? It does make common sense if you have some depth. So we'll see how it works out for him.
And by the way, that may be problematic early in the series as you try to figure out what you need. But in late series games, they've had a lot of juice. They had a lot of energy left. So to your point, when you're playing 9 and 10 guys, Dallas just got tired. Portland always feels like they get tired at the end of it. Brooklyn looks shot. Clippers look fresh. So good stuff, Chris Broussard, Fox Sports.
Nash played 5.5 guys. I mean, that was that was all he was playing.
Good seeing you, bud. Oh. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.